Listening to an encore presentation of this program, KCAA, the Inland Talk Express.
Welcome to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show. Tune in for a vibrant mix of fashion, finance, and life's essential foundations. Join us for expert interviews, insightful discussions, and empowering insights to elevate your lifestyle. From fashion trends to financial tips and personal growth strategies, we've got you covered. So grab your headphones and get ready to be inspired. Tune in now to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show and embark on this exciting journey with us.
Welcome to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show. I am your host, M. Teresa Lawrence, here on KCAA Broadcasting Network, 1050 AM and 106.5 FM, where we cover over 5 million households in the greater Los Angeles. And we are also affiliated with CNBC, NBC, and NBC Sports. You can listen to us every Sunday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time on any of your favorite podcast and streaming channels. We are also in Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and Android app. Just subscribe to Building Solid Foundations channel. I am your host, M. Teresa Lawrence. I am an author, an international speaker, and a leadership coach. I am also the president and executive director of the Trueness Project, which is an international foundation dedicated to helping children and adults throughout the world tell their stories. I travel around the world giving out my books, and we help other people share their stories, because it is my belief that when we share stories, we empower each other and we form community. And that is my purpose in life, to build a community of change makers throughout the world. And I hope you join me. Today we have as our guest Steve Matley, who is so incredible. I really have no words for Steve other than he is so magical. He does so many things that it will just blow your mind. For one thing, he is also a host.
That's right.
On this network, and I have learned so much from him. But Steve Matley has over 30 years experience in real estate investing, land development, and construction management. Steve Matley has over 30 years experience in real estate investing, land development, and construction management involving commercial, institutional, residential, and public works projects. Steve participates as a facilitator and speaker, presenting for seminars, conferences, and symposiums. I have heard him speak. He is phenomenal. Steve is ahead of the construction management program at New School of Architecture and Design in San Diego, overseeing traditional undergraduate and online graduate degree programs. Thank you, Steve, for joining us.
It's great to be here, Teresa. Thank you for having me.
So, Steve, I really want to learn about your background. How did you get interested? First, I'm going to talk about real estate because that's your forte, that's and right. I've learned a lot from you because I've gone to your seminars. So, how did you get interested in real estate? Did you start in real estate? Or?
No, I came out of, I went to business school, and the reason I went to business school is I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up, and that's what you take as business when you don't know what you want to do, because then whatever you decide to do, you just make a business out of it, right? That's kind of how I got roundabout there. And so I ended up working in the business of construction because I was always interested in construction. So I got a general contractor's license, and I was doing custom home work in the Coachella Valley area, Palm Springs, Palm Desert, La Quinta, those areas. And I was, by accident, ended up in a job interview, and I don't remember how it all happened, but I ended up in this job interview that I didn't need or really want for this, and I never heard of the company. And so they talked about what they did. And what they did was everything I always wanted to do in the construction business. I didn't know how to get into it. It was more the commercial and the public works side, which is hard to do from the residential side. And the more they talked, the more interested I was in doing it. So I ended up turning that around to talking them into taking a chance on me. And I had friends out there that also were contractors. So I passed all my, I finished up what I had, and I passed new contracts over to them. And then I took this position on for a construction management company. And it's an agency construction management company, meaning they don't design, build, or engineer a thing. They're just an outsourced manager for the owner. And I found it fascinating. I ended up doing initially residential reconstruction, and then I was doing high-rise commercial stuff in LA, and I built several houses of worship, and San Diego State did a big dormitory out there. So a lot of different things, and it just opened up all these different avenues. And several of the projects I did were kind of what we call turnkey. They were soup to nuts for the owners, meaning help them find the land, design, development, construct, move them in. And that's where I got really interested in the development side. So that's how I ended up working towards the real estate and development.
So I'm just fascinated that you didn't know how to do any of this, and you dreamt about doing all of this, and this just fell in your lap.
Right. So I don't have any formal education in construction management or real estate per se, but I do have an MBA, which means I learned finance and accounting and leadership
No, I
and those
totally
things.
get that.
Right.
It's
just applied it to that business. And so the construction I learned by asking anybody and everybody that would stand still long enough, every stupid question I could think of. And they were nice enough to answer me. Most people I found actually enjoy talking about what they do. They're proud of it, and nobody ever discusses it with them. And so when you talk to, like, say, a building inspector who nobody wants to talk to, they're like the traffic cop on the job, right? And you talk to them like a human being and say, hey, so tell me, what are you looking at? What's important to you? Why are you doing this? What are we trying to find here? And not to pin them down, just genuinely curious. And they would explain what they're doing, why they're doing it, what's important. And I'd learn a lot. I talked to the trade contractors, I talked to suppliers, and that's how I learned the construction side. Now, the real estate side, I started getting a glimpse as a construction manager as I was doing, like I say, more turnkey and design build type projects. But I have a business partner who lives in Florida. He and I had been friends for at least 10 years before we ever went into business together. And he had a strong background in real estate acquisition and entitlements. And so again, it was another one of those happenstance. I'd known him forever. We had a little lunch meeting, talked about what are we up to. And it just so happened that I was trying to get some projects going that I could build up my retirement income base that didn't compete with my company. I didn't want to do anything that competed with my company, and my company didn't do land and entitlements, but I'd learned a little bit about it there, not at that level. He had tied up several pieces of property and was looking for capital. I already had investors that were waiting for me to go find something. So over lunch, we're like, you got the land, I've got the money, this might work, duh, right? So we ended up forming our first project. And over the next, 7, 8 years, we did over 40 projects together.
Wow. So one of my pillars is wealth consciousness, and I have been to your seminars, and real estate is a great way for people to build wealth.
As Will Rogers said 100 years ago, buy real estate, they ain't making any more of it, right?
Yes.
The land we have is the land we have.
So can you share with the audience, let's say that they have extra income and they want to get into real estate. What would you advise them to do?
Okay, so one, you want to step cautiously because there's a lot of opportunities, and if you don't know what you're doing, you have to be very careful where you put your money. So I always recommend people go and hang out with people that know what they're doing. If you want to catch a cold, you hang out with people that have a cold. If you want to catch some real estate savvy, hang out with people that got some real estate savvy, right? It'll rub off on you. And so there's real estate investor associations and those things out there. I actually teach classes in helping people figure out how to do syndications, and I do it for a real estate group. It's not my program. I do it for them for free. And because I like educating people on what we do. And I know you sat in a couple of my events that I've done, right? I'm not selling anything or pitching anything. I'm just teaching people because I think once you've educated people, they'll make their decisions on where they want to go. And I also highly recommend to people when they're new is find people that you know, like, and trust that are in this industry doing well with a good track record, and maybe put some money with them, because you don't need to know everything if you put your money with someone who knows a lot of stuff. And then you will learn in that process. And you can, ask them questions. You'll at least start seeing from the periphery how these things work, what the process looks like, and over time you'll build up some knowledge on it to where you have confidence, because confidence comes with knowledge.
Thank you. So I have to give a full disclosure. I have invested with Steve because I know, trust, and what was the other?
You have to know, like, and trust people.
Know,
That's right.
like, and trust. He is a phenomenal educator, and I have learned so much with him going to his seminars and listening to his radio show. That's where I'm going next. The radio show and your journey to really master that. We're going to dovetail back to the real estate.
I don't know I'd call myself a master, but I hold my own.
You do hold your own. Let's just put it that way. But I just want to build up to this. I had the pleasure of going to a seminar with Steve, and then I had the pleasure of going out to lunch with him and everybody else
And you attended my mastermind, right?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, but at lunch, you shared your story of how you wanted to develop your skills, and I'm noticing a pattern that when you want to develop a skill, you do hang around with people that are very knowledgeable in what they do. You pursue that, you learn the skill, you get in the mix, you get messy, and then you teach the craft, which means you've actually mastered it, because teaching something enables you to get to a higher level of knowledge.
Absolutely.
And I see you doing that in everything that you do.
That's the method, yes.
Yes. So we're going to take a break now, and when we get back, I'm going to ask Steve about his public speaking and his radio show and the things he did to get there. We'll be right back.
For the past 53 years, I have been immeasurably blessed to make my full-time living as both an actor and a speaker, either on stage somewhere or standing in front of a camera. I wanted to take a moment today to tell you how excited I am to be coming to San Diego, California this fall to teach you how to become a professional speaker. I will be teaming up with the multi-talented Marie Waite, and together we will help you design the most compelling, passionate, and energized version of you have ever known. This will equip you with a newfound sense of confidence and the exuberance that it takes to get out there on stage and change lives. The dates are October the 17th through the 20th. I look forward to seeing you there.
The worst thing a homeowner can do is be without a good set of tools. Don't find yourself caught without the right tools. The Real Men of Real Estate's Ultimate Utility Bag ensures you're equipped for any DIY task. With high-quality essentials like a hammer, measuring tape, multi-tool, and Exactac picture hanging tool housed in a sturdy bag, you'll be ready for anything. It's not a good feeling when you have to stop right in the middle of a project because you didn't have that tool that you should have had in the first place. Introducing the Real Men of Real Estate's Ultimate Utility Bag from Caliber 8. This ultimate all-around-the-house tool bag includes essentials like a non-slip grip 16-ounce claw hammer with a nail starter, which is perfect for keeping your fingers safe from getting smashed, a durable 16-foot measuring tape, which is a must in any toolkit, a compact toolkit small enough to fit in your glove compartment or your kitchen drawer, with a utility knife, 2 Phillips and flathead precision screwdrivers, a mini socket set, a box of wood and machine screws, needle nose pliers, wire cutters, and a driver set with flathead Phillips and Torx style bits, and the Exactac picture hanging tool, which makes picture hanging easy with no measuring required or stray holes to deal with. With everything you need conveniently packed in one sturdy bag, you'll be ready for any DIY task. Call area code 619-453-4664 or visit realmenofrealestate.com. The first 10 shoppers get a 10% discount with promo code TOOLS. That's TOOLS.
Unlock the power within you with Who Do You Think You Are? Delve into the art of personal branding and craft a legacy that leaves an indelible mark on the world. Learn from real-life experiences and actionable insights, empowering you to become a leader in your field. Get your copy now and embark on the journey to unleash your true potential. Now available on Amazon.
Welcome back to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show. I am your host, M. Teresa Lawrence, and today we are with Steve Matley, and we have been talking to Steve about real estate and a pattern that I've noticed in his life. He figures out what he wants, he finds people that are very good at it, he learns from them, he masters the craft, and then he teaches the craft. Now, I'm not quite sure if he ever taught being a stand-up comedian, but he has this incredible radio show, and he's so good at it. And I had the pleasure of attending a seminar with him and then going to lunch. And then he told the story of wanting to master public speaking and going out and becoming a stand-up comedian and the things he had to go through with that. And my jaw dropped. I was just like, what? There were these great stories. And so if you could share some of these stories, because it just humanizes you.
Okay. Well, so my intent has never been to be a stand-up comedian. And in fact, if you ask either of my daughters, they will confirm vehemently I'm no stand-up comedian. In fact, the term I heard from them most often while they were growing up was, "You're not funny, Dad." So, that's, because dads are always trying to be funny to their kids,
Didn't
right?
you win something? I mean, it's like this crazy story.
Yes. So the story on that is really about the public speaking. And so if we go back into when I was, school and early college, I was terrified of public speaking, terrified. I mean, literally the day the oral report was due, I was sick at home because I wasn't going to go in and public speak, and I would take an F for the project instead of stand up in front of the class.
No, this is really important because I'm one of those people that's also scared of public speaking, and I know that everybody who's listening here is pretty much scared of public speaking. It's the number one fear
Jerry
humans have.
Seinfeld once observed that public speaking is the number one fear, and fear of dying is number two, which means if any funeral you go to, more people are afraid of doing the eulogy than being in the box, which is crazy, right? So I was in that category. Well, when I got into college, classes, if you didn't do your presentation, you failed, and you're paying a lot of money to be there. And so at that point, you're going to get over it, because I am not going to fail classes I spent thousands of dollars to take, and I'm trying to get through this program. So you suck it up and you do what scares the heck out of you. And I learned I never died when I was up there speaking. I may have died figuratively as far as not a good presentation, but it really wasn't lethal or even dangerous. And I found that most of the class were just as nervous as I was, and they were very supportive because they wanted you to be supportive of them too. And they were all empathetic towards each other. So it was actually a very nurturing kind of environment, even in graduate school. So then I got into the industry, and part of public speaking was a huge part of my job. I had to go obviously give presentations as a general contractor to get work. As a construction manager, I had to go give presentations on projects of tens and hundreds of millions of dollars for the company. And if you foul that up, we don't get the contract that we've been working on, right? So you have to get adept at it. When I started, and I got pretty good at it actually. And then when I got to my own company, I no longer was doing a lot of speaking in front of groups because it was a lot of paperwork. It was more the management side. And I was afraid I was losing that skill, because if you don't use it, those fears come back, right? Just like if you get over acrophobia and you don't go in a high place a long time, you get afraid of heights again, right? So the only time I was public speaking were in very high pressure situations like planning commission meetings, where nobody's there that supports you. The only people that show up hate you, right? So you got to be able to hold your own confidently. Yeah. And I joined a group called Toastmasters, where I learned public speaking. Well, it got to the point where I got so comfortable public speaking, I had the opposite problem. When you have no nervousness anymore, now your danger is that you're not going to prepare like you should. You start getting lazy about it, and you kind of like, I can phone this in.
We're having a course on public speaking.
Yeah.
This is like so selfish of me, because I need this
that's okay.
right now.
That's okay. But I think this is true. I've seen people on a journey where they get so comfortable, they think, I can just wing this thing. Boy, is that a recipe for disaster, because you're going to tank yourself at some point because you didn't prepare like you should. You still need to prepare. There's a discipline there. And so I thought, you know what I need to do? I need to get to that point where I'm scared to death of getting in front of a group. And there's only two things I can think of that would do that: live stage acting and stand-up comedy. Now, live stage acting is an enormous time commitment, right? You have all the rehearsals and the shows and all the stuff. Stand-up, you have the time commitment to prepare, but you don't have all the rehearsals with other people relying on you, that stuff. It's a solo operation. So I contacted someone who she'd published a book, and I knew about her through Toastmasters groups and that kind of stuff. And a lady named Judy Carter, she was a stand-up comic, big in the 80s, one of the first of the really good female comics back when Roseanne Barr was just coming up in those groups. And so she ran a little class on this stuff. And I did this with her where she set me up at a weekend showcase at the Hollywood Improv on Melrose. So she produced showcases there. So I was in this showcase. And that's one where basically I had 5 weeks to come up with 5 minutes. And it better be good. And the rule that I was told was, if they're not laughing when you get up there, they better be laughing when you sit down. And if they are laughing when you get up there, they better be laughing when you sit down, because the show's got to continue. And where I can throw humor into a regular talk, or like here on the radio show, I could throw a little joke out, and if it doesn't go, I just pretend it wasn't really a joke and we move on, right? And when you're in a stand-up comedy, people paid a cover charge and a 2-drink minimum for you to make them laugh. And you got about 20 seconds to get that first laugh, or it's the longest night of your life. And so I did that, and I prepared, and I must have written an hour of material to get to 5 minutes that was any good. And I practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced. But and I also did a lot of study into comedy. I was studying the psychology behind it. What makes us laugh? The rules of 3 and tricking the mind and all that kind of stuff.
What's the rule of 3?
Oh, the rule of 3 is you set a pattern up and then disrupt it. So I go to some topic, I list 2 examples that make sense, and then one that's ridiculous. And then that's what makes it funny, right? Okay. Is because I did a curve on you.
See,
humor,
this is the study aspect of Steve Matley.
Yeah,
we're getting the pattern. Are you guys in on the pattern?
And if you listen to stand-up comics, you'll see they do that, because they set you up and they give a premise, and they give you 2 examples that support the premise, and they give you one that connects but is ridiculous, and that makes you laugh. It fools the mind. That's why the joke's not funny after you've heard it 20 times.
So that's the rule of 3. You mentioned something else.
You're tricking the mind all the time. And so I learned kind of psychology behind how this works. I did a serious study into humor, right? And then tried to mix that in. And I did a premise. At that time, I had 2 teenage daughters at home, a wife. I had a dog who was female. Bird was female, all the pets, right? And so my whole shtick was I was the only male in a house of females. Now, this was before Tim Allen did his show, which was, about the same thing. So this was just, I called it Life on the Estrogen Farm. And it was just, being outvoted on everything, right? And it was the humor of just being out of my element with nothing but women around me. And one of the lines I used was, it was my own fault. I used to pray to God that I could be surrounded by beautiful women, and this is how it happened. So I did the whole, I prepared that routine. I went down there, and I got to tell you, when you practice a routine, it's not funny to you anymore. Because improv is not really improv. It's really very well practiced. Every nuance, every gesture, every facial expression. And now when you say it now, when you're familiar with it, it's not funny anymore. It just sounds stupid. Because none of it makes sense, right? It's just babbling. And so I talked to this, put the show on, and she said, oh, that's normal. She said, there's a group that meets in Venice that's kind of like a little mastermind for comics. They get together and share a couple minutes.
They have a mastermind for comics. Are you listening?
Yeah, they do. And so I went down there on a Wednesday night, and she said, you just bring a minute to 2 of your stuff, and then they'll critique you, And so all these people go up, and they're giving a couple minutes of their thing, right? And so I stood up, and it's a very supportive group, actually. They all do the circuit together. So I did my 2 minutes, and as I was doing it, I realized I had taken the wrong tact. I was doing set up the premise and punchline, set up the premise, punchline. And I realized they were laughing before I got there because the premise itself was funny. And they were completing the dots in their own mind. And I realized I just need to milk the setup, because that's funny. And let them, I don't even have to say the punchline. They got there before I did. And they'll laugh. And then anything else, I just then need to find just a little, tag on the end of that before I transition to the next topic. And so I ended up going to that improv. It actually worked out very well. It was fortunately a really good crowd. It was a really good lineup. I was stuck in the middle of it, so I didn't have to open, I didn't have to close. No pressure. And when I was done, the guy that booked at the Comedy Store came up and said, I'll give you 8 minutes on my stage. And
did you do it?
I did, yes. And then after that, I did a showcase over at the Laugh Factory, and then I did one over at Pechanga. And that was the entire career I had in comedy. But it was really to build public speaking skills. And it was valuable because it teaches you to think a different way and to be able to put humor in and relate to an audience better.
No, that's fabulous. You guys, this man is really funny and really interesting to watch, because everything that I've said about him going deep into a subject, that the stand-up comedy thing is just a perfect example. Like, he really put in the time to write out the act. He studied. He went to who knew there was a mastermind for stand-up comedy? That's like mind-blowing.
But the key is you have to do it. And that's why the most terrifying thing is to stand up in front of a group and not know if they're going to like you or not. And you just start talking, and you don't know if it's going to be rotten tomatoes or laughs. You don't know.
But that's the journey. And
Yeah, it
that's
is.
what we want people to go into, to lean into that fear. And I've been doing that the whole year because I need to public speak in order to get the foundation going, right?
That's right. yeah.
Like people,
And sometimes, like I said, for me, I was past the fear. I had to go reintroduce the fear to keep myself honest in my preparation.
so what are you doing now to reintroduce that fear?
Well, I am responsible for a lot of other people's money, and that's a sobering responsibility.
Okay,
So I
well,
have
we're going to
I have
get to
take my
that.
job
We're going
seriously.
to get to that in the last
Yeah.
segment. The next segment is going to be about your teaching to
Okay, we
students.
can talk about
so, all right, it's time for a break. We'll be right back.
You know, for the past 53 years, I have been immeasurably blessed to make my full-time living as both an actor and a speaker, either on stage somewhere or standing in front of a camera. I wanted to take a moment today to tell you how excited I am to be coming to San Diego, California this fall to teach you how to become a professional speaker. I will be teaming up with the multi-talented Marie Waite, and together we will help you design the most compelling, passionate, and energized version of you have ever known. This will equip you with a newfound sense of confidence and the exuberance that it takes to get out there on stage and change lives. The dates are October the 17th through the 20th. I look forward to seeing you there.
The worst thing a homeowner can do is be without a good set of tools. Don't find yourself caught without the right tools. The Real Men of Real Estate's ultimate utility bag ensures you're equipped for any DIY task. With high-quality essentials like a hammer, measuring tape, multi-tool, and Exactac picture hanging tool housed in a sturdy bag, you'll be ready for anything. It's not a good feeling when you have to stop right in the middle of a project because you didn't have that tool that you should have had in the first place. Introducing the Real Men of Real Estate's Ultimate Utility Bag from Caliber 8. This ultimate all-around-the-house tool bag includes essentials like a non-slip grip 16-ounce claw hammer with a nail starter, which is perfect for keeping your fingers safe from getting smashed, a durable 16-foot measuring tape, which is a must in any toolkit, the Caliber 8 Multi-Max Pocket Tool, which features a 6-inch locking-style adjustable pocket wrench, 5-position wrench, 2 Phillips, and 1 flathead screwdriver, a durable stainless steel pocket knife, can and bottle opener, saw blade, an LED flashlight so you don't have to get caught in the dark. A compact toolkit small enough to fit in your glove compartment or your kitchen drawer, with a utility knife, 2 Phillips and flathead precision screwdrivers, a mini socket set, a box of wood and machine screws, needle nose pliers, wire cutters, and a driver set with flathead Phillips and Torx style bits, and the Exactac picture hanging tool, which makes picture hanging easy with no measuring required or stray holes to deal with. With everything you need conveniently packed in one sturdy bag, you'll be ready for any DIY task. Call area code 619-453-4664 or visit realmenofrealestate.com. The first 10 shoppers get a 10% discount with promo code TOOLS. That's TOOLS.
Unlock the power within you with Who Do You Think You Are? Delve into the art of personal branding and craft a legacy that leaves an indelible mark on the world. Learn from real-life experiences and actionable insights, empowering you to become a leader in your field. Get your copy now and embark on the journey to unleash your true potential. Now available on Amazon.
Welcome back to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show. I am your host, M. Teresa Lawrence. Today we are with Steve Matley, and in this section we're going to talk about his teaching and what he's teaching his students. And I just heard that you went to Las Vegas because your students were in a competition.
That's right.
Share with the audience what that's all about.
Okay, well, so I will tell people up front, I'm an accidental educator. It was never my intent to be an educator. My dad was an educator and at a college, and I thought, that's the most boring job in the world. Why would I ever do that? And then I was never a good student. So I always tell people, like, I graduated high school in the half of the class that makes the top half possible. So I wasn't going to any college. Nobody wanted me. But I did go to a community college after high school as kind of transitioning. And I realized I actually could do it. I had kind of been told that I was probably the kind of person that wasn't meant for college. I should think about trades and those things. My high school guidance counselor kind of guided me that direction. I will say to any guidance counselor out there, even if that's where a kid's bent goes, don't tell them they can't. Tell them, here's some options you have if you want to do something different, but don't tell them they're too stupid to go to college. So, which is essentially what I was told. So
Wow.
I went to community college and I did okay. And then I realized, I could transfer to a four-year university that has a local satellite. I was in a town that didn't have a lot of universities. And so I transferred to there and I ended up getting a bachelor's degree in business. I took a couple of years off, and then my dad, he said, look, I will pay for your first 2 terms to get a master's degree to get you started, because he knew that once I start something, I tend to finish it. He just needed to get me going.
Right.
And so, he paid for that tuition in those books, and that's really the only financial aid I ever had going through school. But he was right. I pursued that, and I stayed with it. So I ended up getting the degree, and I did earn my honors and that kind of stuff. Well, then I had my whole career. I had all this stuff going on, and then my partners and I were doing the development business in the 2005 or so. Things start slow. Well, they hadn't slowed down yet. My partners and I had decided to stop doing new projects and stop taking capital and finish up what we had back in early 2005, expecting a downturn.
Oh, wow.
We were a little ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean we're geniuses? No, I didn't go publish the book. I'm the guy that predicted the downturn, although a lot of people have done that. No, my partners are older and wiser than I am. They've been around the block a few times, and so they've seen this. And there were signs out there, and we were a little bit premature. We probably could have waited a little longer, but our projects take a while. So we finished out through 05 and 06, sold our last project in November of 06, and then of course everything hit the skids in 07, right?
Right.
And I briefly during that time went to work for a public, not a public builder, just a private home builder, doing their forward planning and stuff as a transition. But in the meantime, there was a guy that I met through a Toastmasters club, and he was a retired pharmaceutical guy, and his dream was to design ultimate custom homes for celebrities. This is where he wanted to do
That's
with
a
his
pretty
retirement.
specific goal.
Yes. And so he was kind of working with me as kind of a consultant. He kind of, talked to me, and we were meeting at a Starbucks up in Temecula, I believe. And while we're talking, he stops and he goes, you know a lot about this stuff. And I said, well, I hope so, because I'm charging you for this meeting. He laughed and he goes, there's this school up near Ontario, and they've been for about a year talking about and trying to start a construction management program. And I think they need some help. You should talk to them. And so I said, well, give me the contacts. And my thought was advisory board, right?
Right.
Give you this is kind of what they need to learn to get employed. And so I went up and talked to the president of the school, and they should pick my brain fully. I mean, just all the stuff. And then I didn't hear anything for a few weeks, and I thought, okay, well, there's nothing coming out of that. And I just called them before I was leaving town on vacation and said, hey, look, no pressure, but just letting you know I'm going to be out of town for the next week. If you need anything, let me know. And the lady goes, oh, you are on my list to call. The president needs to talk to you again. Can you get up here tomorrow?
Oh,
and I said, sure. So I drove up there, and she talked to me a little more, and then she kind of did this, have you ever worked in education? No. Any experience with it? Well, as a student, that wasn't that great. Do you think you could design this program? Well, I don't see why not. And so that was kind of my answer. Sure, I could do that, right? And so I said, but here's the deal. I can give you the content and what I think the students need to learn and figure out what classes to do, but I'm not an academic, so you need someone to write all the stuff for accreditation. I don't do that. She goes, we have a team to do all that. You just need to do that.
Okay.
And I said, okay. So I started that. And then I designed this program. It was a 2-year associate's degree program in construction management. At that time, there wasn't another accredited one of those this side of New Mexico. Now there's quite a few. There's several of them. But at that time, there wasn't, and there had never been an online one in 2-year degree anywhere.
Was this one online?
On ground and online. I did both.
Wow.
We did them concurrently. And I did the whole thing in 90 days, and I sent it up to them, and then because that was my goal, they sent it back, and they said, this is great, but you're really fat on the credits. I go, what do you mean? They go, well, you've got like a lot of credits in here. You got like 90 some odd credits. And I said, and what does that mean? And they said, well, you know, an associate's degree is about 60 credits. I said, no. I said, well, you have an associate's degree. I said, yeah, but I didn't count credits. I went to school till they said, congratulations, stop going to school. That's the way I did all my programs. I didn't care how many credits they were.
Right.
And so they said, no, you got to be about 60. And so I went and started shoving 15 pounds in a 5-pound sack to shrink it down.
Right.
But I really was kind of struggling with, but this is what they need to know. So I kind of just made it tougher. And then I condensed it, and I got it down to 67 or 68 credits. And they said, that's close enough for us. And so then they pushed it through WASC, the accrediting committee, got it accredited because the school was already accredited. And so that was 120 days after I had showed up the first day with an idea. Now, I didn't know that education takes forever. I come out of a construction business. Delay is disaster.
No, it takes forever. I'm trying to change education.
Yeah, delay is disaster. They thought I walked on water because nobody gets it done this quick. And I thought I was 30 days behind my schedule, right? And so we had I started August 1st at that school, and in the second week of January, we sat our first students in that program, a fully accredited program. And so I ended up running that program for, I don't know, I was at that school about 8 years, and actually I at one time became the dean of the school, which I thought was hilarious when I think back to my high school guidance counselor. Thinking, boy, that guy would
That's great.
The whole world's turned upside down now, exactly. He's sure hell froze over. Yeah, that was hilarious. So the fact that, it was crazy. But it was a great, great recession hobby, honestly, because again, the industry was slow at that time, right? There wasn't a lot going on. And it was a lot of fun, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had no idea I would enjoy teaching students that much. And so I ended up helping California Baptist University when they started their program. I helped that program director launch a few classes, primarily so I could articulate my 2-year program over to their 4-year. Because one thing I did for my students, because I knew that a 4-year degree was very valuable to them, I had about 8 different schools that I set up articulation agreements so the 2-year degree could go to them and they could turn it into a bachelor's degree if they wanted it to.
And that came from your personal experience.
Yes, exactly, because that's how I went, community college to 4-year, exactly.
Right.
And so it was kind of designing it the way I wish things had been when I went through, And so it was an easy, they don't have to take credits and leave credits. It comes as a package. Here's 60 credits automatically for your bachelor's degree, and then you finish it up, right?
So as part of the program, you spoke about a capstone.
Okay, yeah, so I ended up at New School of Architecture and Design. So when I moved to San Diego from the inland, I assumed I was done with education. And I was here not even 2 weeks when I got a phone call from a guy. And he said, hi, my name's George. I run the program, a construction management program at New School. I said, New School doesn't have a construction management program. I did the research. He says, no, it's fairly new. It's only been here a couple years. I said, okay, that didn't exist when I was designing one. He goes, nope. And he says, so we've launched a bachelor's degree, and we just started a master's degree in it too, but the master's degree is online. He says, somebody who knows me knows you and said, you know how to teach college classes in construction management. And I said, I do. He says, can you teach a class for me in the winter term, starting in January? And I said, okay, what is it? He said, commercial construction. I said, I can do that. So I went there to teach one class for one term. And then, of course, you have to deliver your CV or your resume to them, right? Well, he sees that, and he's like, well, hot diggity dog, this guy can teach all kinds of stuff, right? So then he starts just scheduling me for classes, term after term after term. And eventually, when he decided to step back and retire, he didn't ask me. He voluntold me to run the program.
Wow.
He basically said, you're the next program, the next head of the program. I said, do I get a choice? He said, no.
I just have to interrupt. You're basically a yes man. You have said yes to all of these opportunities that come your way.
Well, here's the irony about that.
And half of the time, you didn't know what you were getting into.
If I want to do it. So here's the irony about that. I say no to a lot of things. I have no problem saying no to a lot of things because I need my schedule clear. However, when opportunities present themselves, and if those opportunities align with kind of my personal purpose, mission, who I am, what I am, why I exist, and where I'm going as far as my vision goes, where if it gets me closer to where I'm going, even if it's nothing I had never considered, I'll jump on it. I'll do it if I find it interesting. And education was something I found extremely fulfilling, very interesting. It kept me tied to an industry that I really wouldn't have been otherwise, because more the development side isn't really connected to the commercial or residential construction side as much if you're just doing the land. So yeah, I ended up running the program. Well, now I teach a full-time load, right? So I ended up teaching the capstone class when the teacher who had taught the capstone left. So the capstone class is where they take all the stuff they've learned in 4 years and put it all together, right? All the pieces of the puzzle now have to create a picture.
Right.
So I actually, one of the first things I did was change the capstone to a fall term when all the competitions were, because I had students that wanted to do competitions. And I realized, you're doing a whole integrated project here, for a competition, and then you're doing a whole one over here for a grade.
Oh, so yes,
And
that
you're
just,
busy,
it just
busy
makes
students.
sense.
And I don't have to now come up with projects because industry associations that run these programs, these competitions, they have project plans and RFPs and outlines and constraints. I just need to adjust it to make sure that the course learning outcomes are met as well as the competition outcomes, right? So I have a slight, they do basically two slightly different versions, but not hugely different versions of the same project, because and the one in class, they're going to do probably an hour-long presentation with almost an hour of Q&A, and the competition, they'll do about a 10-minute presentation with about 10 minutes of Q&A, right? So and that's actually not a bad thing. Can you take this project and boil it to its essence and present it and get a win out of it, right? And so I asked them, the students, what would you want to do for your capstone? And like this last year, I talked to them in the spring term last year, the ones that were going to be seniors this year, and they said, we'd like to do a residential custom home competition.
And
I said,
with
you're
that,
on.
it's time for a break.
Okay. All right.
We'll be right back.
For the past 53 years, I have been immeasurably blessed to make my full-time living as both an actor and a speaker, either on stage somewhere or standing in front of a camera. I wanted to take a moment today to tell you how excited I am to be coming to San Diego, California this fall to teach you how to become a professional speaker. I will be teaming up with the multi-talented Marie Waite, and together we will help you design the most compelling, passionate, and energized version of you have ever known. This will equip you with a newfound sense of confidence and the exuberance that it takes to get out there on stage and change lives. The dates are October the 17th through the 20th. I look forward to seeing you there.
The worst thing a homeowner can do is be without a good set of tools. Don't find yourself caught without the right tools. The Real Men of Real Estate's ultimate utility bag ensures you're equipped for any DIY task. With high-quality essentials like a hammer, measuring tape, multi-tool, and Exactac picture hanging tool housed in a sturdy bag, you'll be ready for anything. It's not a good feeling when you have to stop right in the middle of a project because you didn't have that tool that you should have had in the first place. Introducing the Real Men of Real Estate's ultimate utility bag from Caliber 8. This ultimate all-around-the-house tool bag includes essentials like a non-slip grip 16-ounce claw hammer with a nail starter, which is perfect for keeping your fingers safe from getting smashed, a durable 16-foot measuring tape, which is a must in any toolkit, the Caliber 8 Multi-Max Pocket Tool, which features a 6-inch locking-style adjustable pocket wrench, 5-position wrench, 2 Phillips, and 1 flathead screwdriver, a durable stainless steel pocket knife, can and bottle opener, saw blade, an LED flashlight so you don't have to get caught in the dark. A compact toolkit small enough to fit in your glove compartment or your kitchen drawer, with a utility knife, 2 Phillips and flathead precision screwdrivers, a mini socket set, a box of wood and machine screws, needle nose pliers, wire cutters, and a driver set with flathead Phillips and Torx style bits, and the Exactac picture hanging tool, which makes picture hanging easy with no measuring required or stray holes to deal with. With everything you need conveniently packed in one sturdy bag, you'll be ready for any DIY task. Call area code 619-453-4664 or visit realmenofrealestate.com. The first 10 shoppers get a 10% discount with promo code TOOLS. That's TOOLS.
Unlock the power within you with Who Do You Think You Are? Delve into the art of personal branding and craft a legacy that leaves an indelible mark on the world. Learn from real-life experiences and actionable insights, empowering you to become a leader in your field. Get your copy now and embark on the journey to unleash your true potential. Now available on Amazon.
We are back. Welcome back to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show. I am your host, M. Teresa Lawrence. I am here with Steve Matley, and when we left off, we were talking about the capstone year of the students he teaches and the competitions that take place around the country on building. And he was going to share what they competed in.
Right. So this year they did a design build custom home project, and it was put together by the National Association of Home Builders, which is a national association of residential contractors and developers. And they actually put on the single largest construction and design based conference expo in the country every year, and that's where the students do their competition. So they're right there in front of the industry. And we've done different competitions in the past through other organizations, ASC and DBIA and groups like that. This one they wanted to do the homes. I had a group that was specifically interested in residential. So they started, actually, our term doesn't start in the fall until October, but they started in August. They came in during the summer, started in August because, see, the rest of the world starts in August, and that's when the competitions get released, right? So I don't want them starting behind, 6 weeks behind everybody else. So they work outside of class time up till then, and then when they got into class, when we started this, they had already told me that was the project they want to work on, which was fine. They still had plenty of work to do. So they'd done all the market research and their kind of their land choice at that point, and now they were going into design. So I had 2 architect students, an interior architect and design student, and about 6 or 7 construction management students that were on this team. And they were also the class. And I had a couple people that were in the class that decided not to go out to the competition because they already had jobs and families and stuff, but they participated in putting everything together. Okay. So they were part of the project team, they just didn't go present. And that's what they did. They worked all through the fall, and then they delivered it, one version of it as the final exam for their capstone for the class, and I had a panel of faculty and industry people they presented to and evaluate them based on the course rubric. Then they repackaged everything into what the competition needed, which was a much more condensed version of it, no more than 20 pages. And they submitted that in the second week of December to the national competition judges. Then they spent, when they came back from the break in the new term, they spent January and most of February putting the presentation together, the slide deck and the dog and pony show, right? And they worked on that. The graphics they needed, did some fantastic graphics and video fly-throughs of their project. It was really phenomenal. And then I had them do 2 practice sessions, again, in front of both faculty and industry, but this time under the competition rules, 10 minutes presentation, right. 10 minutes Q&A, very tight. Well, their presentation, according to the judges, was by far the single best of anybody out there. They came in 4th place, and the judges said the top 5 teams were separated by no more than about 4 points.
That is so impressive.
So it was really tight. And then I went through, actually in class with them last week, I went through, this is what the judging sheets we got back. And we talked and we said, okay, it looks like you missed a couple points here, missed a couple points there. And I said, this was a phenomenal project, but for whatever reason, you lost, like if you lost half a point here and you lost a quarter of a point here, maybe that's all it took to keep you off that podium because someone else, maybe they weren't perfect, but they didn't miss that point. And so we had to talk through that. And I told them, but every single judge said you were by far the best presentation. But the presentation was only 20%.
You can just tell you're so satisfied with what you do with that.
Yeah, I was disappointed on their behalf, honestly, that they didn't get on the podium because, coming out of the industry, I looked at what was over there, and I haven't seen their packages, so I can't say to it. But I looked and said, you guys were phenomenal. You guys had a better design and a much better presentation, but that's only 20% of it. But they learned. That was the most important thing they learned, and they really bonded as a team.
It sounds like, for me, listening to you speak, I have really my interpretation of home builders and what they have to go through and what they're putting out there. I mean, it's changed. I mean, this was a really good presentation, and now I'm like, wow. When I enter a home and these people have the licenses to do what they're doing, I know I'm going to get high quality work.
If it's a good team, yeah.
So, okay, Steve, if people want to get a hold of you and work with you, where do they find you?
So my company website is coast2coast.com, which is spelled coast, C-O-A-S-T, with a dash and a number 2, and then C-O-A-S-T. So coast-2coast.com, the 2 is a number 2. My email is the same, smatley, S-M-A-T-L-E-Y, at coast-2coast.com. They can contact me either of those ways. I do teach classes for the SDCIA, which is the San Diego Creative Investors Association. In fact, tomorrow I'm doing a syndication workshop for them, part of a 6-part series. So, and that's a group of real estate investors, and I speak at a lot of those investor associations. So I'm out there well beyond the school. I do a lot of education as part of my company as well, and because I believe investors do better when they're knowledgeable and confident and comfortable in what they're doing. And again, knowledge creates the confidence.
So once again, disclaimer, I have invested with Steve, and now you know why. You have just been educated on stand-up comedy, on teaching, and on real estate, and we've had a very good time. Thank you, Steve, for joining me today.
Thank you, Teresa. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Yes, it's been a very fun time. Thank you all for joining me. If you want to watch the replay, we are available on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and the Android app. And remember, just subscribe to Building Solid Foundations. I am your host, M. Teresa Lawrence, and I can be reached at mteresalawrence.com. mteresalawrence.com. Thank you so much.
Welcome to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show, where we talk about food, fashion, finance, and foundations of life. We are live on KCAA Radio Broadcasting Network. KCAA is affiliated with CNBC, NBC News, and NBC Sports. We are sponsored by Sheltered Studios, Fire Connect, and Building Solid Foundations.